Welcome in the next lecture of the genetic disorder series. In this lecture, we are going to discuss sex-linked disorders. We have classified single gene disorders into two main categories: autosomal linked disorders. It may be the autosomal dominant disorders, autosomal recessive disorders. Both of these disorders has been discussed in very much detail in previous lectures. Here we are going to discuss sex-linked disorders. Sex-linked disorder may be the X-linked, X-linked dominant, X-linked recessive, and the Y-linked disorders. X-linked disorders. Starting with the X-linked dominant disorders. X-linked dominant disorders include retinitis pigmentosa, Rett syndrome, Alport syndrome, fragile X syndrome, Coffin-Lowry syndrome, vitamin D resistance rickets. First of all, retinitis pigmentosa. Retinitis pigmentosa is a group of inherited eye diseases that affect the retina, the light sensitive part of the eye. As it affects the sensitive part of the eye, that is the retina, so it is called retinitis pigmentosa. A pigment appear on the retina of the eye, that's why it is called retinitis pigmentosa. More than 60 different genes can cause the different types of retinitis pigmentosa. Retinitis pigmentosa causes the breakdown of photoreceptor cells in the retina that detect light. वो सेल्स जो रेटिना पे मौजूद हैं उन सेल्स को फोटोरिसेप्टर सेल्स बोलते हैं. Photoreceptor cells capture and process light, helping us to see the image that is formed on the retina, that is the photoreceptor cells. As these cells break down and die, patients experience progressive vision loss. The most common feature of all forms of retinitis pigmentosa is a gradual breakdown of rods, retinal cells that detect dim light. Rod cells वो होते हैं जो dim light में function होते हैं, and cones retinal cells that detect light and color. Most forms of retinitis pigmentosa first cause the breakdown of rod cells. This form of retinitis pigmentosa, sometimes called rod cone dystrophy, usually begins with light blindness. Normal eye having no pigments in the retina. Abnormal eye, retinitis pigmentosa, the retina has pigment deposited known as the bone spicules. Retinitis pigmentosa, the clumps of pigments are present on the retina. It result in the vision loss of the patient. As the disease progresses and more rod cells break down, जैसे जैसे disease progress करती है, ज़्यादा rod cells डैमेज होते हैं, पेशेंट लूज देयर पेरिफेरल विजन मीन उसको इर्द गिर्द कुछ नजर नहीं आता. ही और शी पेशेंट कैन ओनली सी इन द सेंट्रल लाइन, दैट इज कॉल्ड द सेंट्रल विजन, दैट इज आल्सो कॉल्ड द टनल विजन. Individuals with retinitis pigmentosa often experience a ring of vision, retained clear central vision. For example, if someone looking at this picture, there is no vision side पे कुछ नजर नहीं आ रहा. Patient only see just like in a hole, just like the tunnel. जैसे उसको टनल में कोई चीज नजर आ रही होती है, that's why it is called the tunnel vision. उसकी जो पेरिफेरल की विजन है वो सारी लॉस हो चुकी होती है. Many patients with retinitis pigmentosa retain a small degree of central vision throughout their life. Treatment of the retinitis pigmentosa. There is no cure for retinitis pigmentosa. New treatments are in progress. A few options can slow vision loss and may even restore some light. Few options हम इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं, like acetazolamide, vitamin A, palmitate, sunglasses. These makes eyes less sensitive to light and protect your eyes from harmful ultraviolet rays that may speed vision loss. Retinal implant. Other treatments under review include a replacement of damaged cells or tissues with healthy ones, gene therapy to put healthy genes into the retina. अगर हम cause की बात करें retinitis pigmentosa की, there are a variety of causes of retinitis pigmentosa. The major cause is X-linked dominant. There may be the other cause autosomal as well. Second disease of the X-linked dominant disorder is the Rett syndrome. Rett syndrome is caused by mutation on the X chromosome on a gene called MCP2. There are more than 900 different mutations found on the MCP2 genes. Most of these mutations are found in 8 different hotspots. 8 different hotspots में ये mutation हो सकती है. Rett syndrome is not degenerative disorder with individuals living to middle age or beyond. Symptoms of Rett syndrome includes with the language problems, coordination, and the repetitive movements. Often there is slower growth, problems in walking, and smaller head size can be observed in Rett syndrome. Complications can include seizures, scoliosis, that is a vertebral column problem, and the sleeping problems. There is no known cure for Rett syndrome. Treatment is directed at improving symptoms. Anticonvulsants may be used to help with seizures. Special education, physiotherapy, and braces may also be useful in Rett syndrome. Alport syndrome. Alport syndrome is a genetic disorder affecting around 1 in 5,000 to 10,000 children, characterized by glomerulonephritis, that is the end-stage disease, and the hearing loss. Alport syndrome is caused by an inherited defect in type 4 collagen. Type 4 collagen में एक defect होगा, that is inherited defect. A structural material, type 4 collagen is the structural material that is needed for the normal function of different parts of the body. Since type 4 collagen is found in ears, eyes, and kidney, so all these organs will disturb, will damage. इसमें ears में भी प्रॉब्लम काज होगा, इसमें eyes में प्रॉब्लम होगा, और kidneys में भी प्रॉब्लम होगा. Signs and symptoms of the Alport syndrome: blood in urine, hematuria, proteins in the urine, proteinuria, high blood pressure, hypertension, swelling in the legs, ankle, feet, and around the eyes, that is called the edema. Currently, there is no treatment for Alport syndrome. The goal is to treat the symptoms, that is symptomatic therapy, and help slow the progression of kidney disease. This may include angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors or ARB medicine. These are the medication to control high blood pressure, diuretics, that are water pills, and limit sodium salt in diet. Fragile X syndrome. Fragile X syndrome has an X-linked dominant disorder. It is typically caused by the expansion of CGG. CGG की expansion होगी, normal number से increase होगा, as in the Huntington disease में हुआ था. The triplet repeats within the FMR1 gene, that is the fragile X mental retardation 1. Fragile X mental retardation gene 1 that is present on the X chromosome. FMR1 gene में म्यूटेशन होगी, उसमें CGG repeat, जो ट्रिपलेट उसकी expansion होगी, that result in the fragile X syndrome. This result in silencing or the methylation of this part of the gene and deficiency of resultant protein FMRP. FMR1 gene encodes a protein that is called FMRP protein. This protein is required mainly for the normal development of connections between neurons. Neuron connections के लिए responsible है ये protein. अब neuron जब connection उसकी अब normal होगी, उनकी development नहीं होगी, then it will lead to mental problems or mental retardation. Diagnosis requires genetic testing to determine the number of CGG repeats in FMR1 gene. FMR1 gene में CGG के जो number है उसको identify करेंगे. Normally there are between 5 and 40 repeats. But in Fragile X syndrome, the repeats occur with more than 200. Repeats 200 से ज़्यादा हो जाएंगे. Then the result X-linked Fragile syndrome. Symptoms of Fragile X syndrome include intellectual disabilities ranging from mild to severe. Severe भी हो सकती है, mild भी हो सकती है. Attention deficit and hyperactivity, especially in young children, and anxiety and unstable mood. Sensory integration problems, and it is the problem of the nervous system, that is hypersensitivity to loud noises or bright lights. There is no cure of the X fragile syndrome. Early intervention is recommended as it provides the most opportunity for developing a full range of skills. These interventions may include special education, speech therapy, physical therapy, or behavioral therapy. These are the interventions. Medications may be used to treat associated seizures, mood problems, aggressive behaviors, seizures और mood problem के लिए medication भी इस्तेमाल की जा सकती हैं. Coffin-Lowry syndrome. Coffin-Lowry syndrome is genetic disorder that is X-linked. It results in mutation of RPS6KA3 gene, which encodes RSK2, that is a ribosomal S6 kinase 2. Multiple mutations have been identified in RPS6KA3 that can give rise to disorders. RPS6KA3 जीन है और RSK2 that is a protein. This protein is ribosomal S6 kinase 2. The condition of the Coffin-Lowry syndrome leads to severe mental problems, sometimes associated with the abnormalities of the growth, cardiac abnormalities, kyphoscoliosis, that is the scoliosis of abnormal, whatever you call them, as well as the auditory and the visual abnormalities. Vitamin D resistance rickets. Each type of vitamin D dependent rickets has a different genetic cause. There are a variety of vitamin D dependent rickets and each have different genetic cause. VDDR1A is caused by the CYP27B1 gene mutation. CYP27B1 म्यूटेशन में जब म्यूटेशन होगी तो उससे VDDR1A रिकट काज होगा. VDDR1B is caused by CYP2R1 gene mutation and VDDR2A is caused by VDR gene mutation. The genetic cause of the VDDR2B is unknown. There are a variety of genetic causes of the vitamin D dependent rickets. The signs and symptoms of vitamin D dependent rickets begin with the month after birth, and most are the same for all types of the conditions. The weak bones often cause bone pain and delayed growth and have tendency to fracture as vitamin D deficiency, so bones will affect it more. X-linked recessive disorders. X-linked recessive disorder में हमारे पास जो मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट डिसऑर्डर्स हैं वो हेमोफीलिया है, कलर ब्लाइंडनेस है, SCID दैट इज सीवियर कंबाइंड इम्यून डेफिशिएंसी, हंटर्स डिजीज, मस्कुलर डिस्ट्रॉफी, G6PD, नेफ्रोजेनिक, डायपेटीज, इंसिपिडस, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट डिसऑर्डर्स हैं. इनमें हेमोफीलिया, कलर ब्लाइंडनेस, SCID बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है. Hemophilia. Hemophilia is a bleeding disorder that slows down the blood clotting process. इसमें blood clotting process slow down होता है. It is also called the royal disease. People who have hemophilia often have longer bleeding after an injury or surgery. Surgery या bleeding के बाद उसमें blood clot नहीं होता. Long time के लिए bleeding होती है hemophilic patients में. People who have severe hemophilia have spontaneous bleeding into the joints and muscles. Severe hemophilic patient में spontaneous खुद बहुत bleeding हो रही होती है joints में और muscles में. Hemophilia occur more commonly in males than in female because it is X-linked recessive disorder. There are several types of hemophilia: Hemophilia A, Hemophilia B, Hemophilia C, parahemophilia, acquired Hemophilia A, and acquired Hemophilia B. The most common type of hemophilia are Hemophilia A. That is also known as classic hemophilia. Hemophilia A have low level of the blood clotting factor, that is clotting factor 8. जब clotting factor A miss होगा, that is hemophilia A. Hemophilia A is the most common type of this condition. 1 in 5,000 to 10,000 males worldwide have hemophilia A. So it is the most common type of the disease or the disorders. इसमें जो 80% जो individuals हैं वो हेमोफीलिया A से affect होते हैं. So hemophilia A is the major cause of the hemophilia and it associated with the 80% of the hemophilia, and it's the X-linked recessive disorder. Hemophilia B, also known as Christmas disease, इसको Christmas disease बोलते हैं. Hemophilia B have low level of factor 9. जब factor 9 low level में होगा या missing होगा, the condition is called hemophilia B. Hemophilia B are mainly responsible for 20% of the hemophilia. Hemophilia B is less common and it affects 1 in 20,000 to 34,500 males worldwide. Less common है 20%. Hemophilia C, it is an autosomal gene disorder. Hemophilia A और B X-linked recessive disorders हैं, जबकि Hemophilia C very less common है, लेकिन इसका जो genetic base है वो autosomal genetic disorder है. Autosomal gene disorder involving lack of फंक्शनल क्लॉटिंग फैक्टर 11, जब क्लॉटिंग फैक्टर 11 मिस होगा तब हेमोफीलिया सी होगा. हेमोफीलिया सी इज नॉट कंप्लीटली रिसेसिव एज हेटेरोजाइगस इंडिविजुअल्स आल्सो शो इंक्रीज ब्लीडिंग. इसमें हेटेरोजाइगस कंडीशन भी ब्लीडिंग कॉज कर सकते हैं, सो इट इज नॉट कंप्लीटली रिसेसिव. Parahemophilia is a mild and rare form and is due to deficiency of factor 5. This type can be inherited or acquired. इसको हम ये inherited भी हो सकते हैं और acquired भी हो सकते हैं. A non-genetic form of hemophilia is caused by autoantibodies against factor 8 and so is known as acquired hemophilia A. जब factor 8 के against antibodies अपनी ही antibodies को kill करेंगी, उसको neutralize करेंगी, then it is called so it is called acquired hemophilia A. Acquired hemophilia can be associated with cancers, autoimmune disorders. Genetics of hemophilia. Hemophilia is caused by recessive allele on X chromosome. If both the allele are dominant, then the female is normal. If one allele is in recessive condition, the chromosome are both XX and one is the recessive allele, then the female is carrier. Female is carrier, not the hemophilic. If both the alleles are present in the homozygous recessive condition, then the female is hemophilic female. If X is the gene or allele is dominant on the X chromosome in the male, then the male is the normal male. If the allele is in recessive form on the X chromosome of the male, then the male will become hemophilic. While crossing a carrier female with a normal male, the possibilities in their children will be. जब हम एक normal male को carrier female के साथ cross करेंगे, what is the possibility of the children? Let's suppose this is the gamete of the male, that is the X gamete having the dominant allele, and the Y gamete. When the X gamete having the dominant and X gamete having the recessive. When these both will cross, the condition is the normal female. These two have the this is the carrier female, this is the normal male, and a hemophilic male. So the male are mainly affected in hemophilic condition because the gene or the disease is X-linked recessive. Signs and symptoms of spontaneous bleeding include unexplained and excessive bleeding from cuts of injuries or after surgery or dental work. ज़्यादा bleeding होगी. Many large or deep bruises will form. Unusual bleeding after vaccinations. Pain, swelling or tightness in the joints. Blood in the urine or stool. Nosebleeds without a known cause. Infants, unexplained irritability. Hemophilia can result in bleeding within joints that can lead to chronic joint disease and pain, bleeding in the head and sometimes in the brain, which can cause long-term problems such as seizures and paralysis. जब brain में damage होगा, जब brain में bleeding होगी, then it will cause the mental problems. Death can occur if the bleeding cannot be stopped or if it occurs in a vital organ such as the brain. अगर vital organs में bleeding होगी, then it leads towards the death. Treatment of the hemophilia mainly as the clotting factor are missing, mainly we use the desmopressin in the mild case, that is the in the acute stage, or the mild case desmopressin can be used. That is the synthetic hormone. Desmopressin is a synthetic hormone. The best way to treat the hemophilia is to replace the missing blood clotting factor so that the blood can clot properly. In genetic engineering and biotechnology, we have produced different types of clotting factors that can be used as a treatment for hemophilia. Octocogolfa for hemophilia A and non-ecogolfan for hemophilia B. These are the choice of the treatment. These are the engineered version of the clotting factors. Color blindness. Color blindness, also known as the color vision deficiency, is the decreased ability to see color or differences in color. Color में differentiate करना मुश्किल होगा. That is called the color blindness. Color blindness occurs when light-sensitive cells in the retina fail to respond appropriately to variations in wavelength of light that enable people to see on arrays of color. जब color में differentiation नहीं हो सकता, the condition leads towards the color blindness. Each type of cone cell in the eyes has specific light absorbing protein. That protein is called opsins. अगर opsin में कोई भी damage आ गया, कोई mutation आ गई, then the condition leads towards the color blindness. The genes for red and green opsins are on the chromosome number 7, while the gene for blue opsin is present on autosome 7. रेड और ग्रीन का जो ऑप्सिन जीन है वो एक्स क्रोमोसोम पे है, while for blue opsin is present on the autosome number 7. It is an X-linked disorder. Males are more likely to be colorblind than female, as the genes responsible for most common forms of the color blindness are on X chromosome. Mainly X chromosome पे मौजूद हैं, जैसे हमने डिस्कस किया कि जीन for red and green are on X chromosome. A female have two X chromosome. A defect in one is typically compensated for by the other. Therefore, females can be carrier. Female carriers हैं, जैसे हमने हेमोफिलिक कंडीशन में डिस्कस किया. Males only have one X chromosome and therefore express the genetic disorder. मेल में सिर्फ एक ही क्रोमोसोम होता है, तो इसका कोई काउंटर पार्ट नहीं होता, कोई उसको बैलेंस नहीं करता, कोई उसको इनहिबिट नहीं करता. That's why it will affect it. Why male chromosome that is a neutral for green red color blindness, इस पे कोई जीन मौजूद नहीं है, न्यूट्रल है. X that is a normal X chromosome. XD that is the X chromosome with the deficiency, XDG deficiency with the green color, and XDR that is the X chromosome with the deficiency of the red color. अब डिपेंड करता है कौन सी डिफिशियंसी है, उसकी बेस पे ही ट्रांसमिशन होगी और जो ऑफस्प्रिंग है वो अफेक्ट होंगे. Color blindness can also result from physical or chemical damage to the eye, ऑप्टिक नर्व्स और पार्ट्स ऑफ द ब्रेन. अगर आईज में, ऑप्टिक नर्व्स में या ब्रेन को पार्ट डैमेज है, उससे भी कलर ब्लाइंडनेस हो सकती है. This diagnosis is typically with the Ishihara color test. However, a number of other testing methods, including genetic testing, also exist. Genetic testing भी कर सकते हैं. Ishihara test available है. The Ishihara test is a color perception test for red, green color deficiencies. For example, it is the test for the color blindness. The patient having color blind cannot differentiate between the red and the green color, and then all the colors are it depends upon the type of the color blindness. It may be the protanopia, that is the red blindness. It may be the deuteranopia, that is the green blindness, or it may be the tritanoia, that is the blue blindness. ये डिपेंड करता है टाइप पे, उसकी बेस पे वो कलर ब्लाइंडनेस डिटेक्ट हो सकती है. So protanopia is the red, and deuteranopia is the green, and the tritanoia is the blue blindness. Nearly all people who are colorblind can see colors but have difficulty distinguishing between certain colors. कलर का देख सकते हैं लेकिन distinguish करना मुश्किल होता है कलर्स में. Not all people who are colorblind have trouble with the same colors. जो सारे colorblind people होते हैं उनमें जरूरी नहीं कि सारे एक ही कलर में एक ही कलर के साथ प्रॉब्लम हो. Most cannot distinguish between reds and greens. Some cannot separate blue from the yellows, and a very small group have the condition called the monochromatism. That is the condition which only allows them to see black and white. सिर्फ उनको black and white नजर आता है. तो हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं कि it may be the red blindness, it may be the green blindness, or the tritanoia. Color blindness of various kinds affect roughly 8% of men and less than 1% of women. Treatment of color blindness: there is no known cure for color blindness. Contact lenses and glasses are available with filters to help color deficiencies if needed. Fortunately, the vision of most colorblind people is normal. Vision तो normal होती है. In all other respects, and certain adaptation methods are all that is required. Adaptation methods can be used. Severe combined immunodeficiency. It is a immunodeficiency disease, SCID, that is the severe combined immunodeficiency. It is inherited primary immunodeficiency disease that typically present in infancy, result in profound immune deficiency condition resulting in weak immune system that is unable to fight off even mild infection. इसमें immune deficiency होती है, इसमें immunity weak होती है. जब immunity weak होगी, then the fighting against the mild type infection will lose. The body will not able to fight against the infections. किसी फॉरेन पार्टी के अगेंस्ट कोई प्रोटेक्शन नहीं होती. So it is very dangerous disease of the immune system of the body. अगर body में immunity नहीं है, then it cannot survive because it is vulnerable. It is susceptible to different types of infections. SCID is caused by genetic defects that affects the function of T cells. T cells, B cells, natural killer cells, these are the immune cells. Depending on the type of the SCID, B cells and natural killer cell can also be affected. T cell भी affect हो सकते हैं, B cell भी affect हो सकते हैं और natural killer cell भी affect हो सकते हैं. These cells play an important role in the helping of the immune system that battle the bacteria, viruses, and fungi that cause infection. There are several forms of the SCID. There are at least 13 different genetic defects that can cause the SCID. 13 different genes हैं जो SCID के को cause कर सकते हैं और SCID के लिए responsible हैं. SCID severe combined immunodeficiency. The most common form is caused by the mutation in the SCID X1 gene that is located on the X chromosome. 45% जो SCID है, it is caused due to the mutation in the SCID X1 gene located on the X chromosome. This gene encodes a protein that is used to construct a receptor called interleukin 2 IL2RG, that is interleukin 2 receptor को कोड करता है ये प्रोटीन. IL2RG gene, that is interleukin 2 receptor protein, produce करता है, present on the X chromosome. These receptors reside on the plasma membrane of immune cells. Immune cells की plasma membrane पे मौजूद होंगे ये receptors. Their job is to allow the two types of cell to communicate. चूंकि immune cells को communicate करने के लिए signal की जरूरत होती है और signals हमेशा जो receptors हैं वो receive करते हैं और फिर internally signal pass होते हैं. If there is no receptors, then there is no signals. There is no communication. When gene is mutated, the receptor cannot form and result in absence of immune cells. जब receptors mutate होगा तो immune cells फॉर्म नहीं होंगे. As a result, the immune cells can't communicate with one another. जब immune cells ही नहीं होंगे तो communication नहीं होगी. That cannot fight against the foreign agents. Not enough T and B cells are produced to fight off the infections. T और B cells produce नहीं होंगे, infections के against fighting नहीं होगी, and body is susceptible to infections. T cells और B cell immune cells के बहुत important components हैं. T and B cell are the part of the adaptive immunity. T cells mainly cell-mediated immunity में help होती है और B cell mainly involved in the humoral immunity. Some infections including pneumonia, meningitis, sepsis will occur as the result of the deficiency of this IL2 receptor protein. There are other forms of SCID like the adenosine deaminase deficiency enzymes. The mutation in this enzyme leads towards 15% of cases, and it's also the cause of the SCID. It is autosomal recessive disorder. Purine nucleotide phosphorylase gene, it is also autosomal recessive disorder. RAG1 and RAG2 gene mutation prevent the VD and J recombination chains of the antibodies and leads towards the SCID. Severe combined immunodeficiency. A normal person having the immune system is normal, having normal T cells and B cells and can fight against infections, while the patient having the SCID, the immune cells are abnormal, decrease immune response, there is abnormal concentration of the T cell and B cells, there is no signaling, and the person cannot fight against the infections. One form of the SCID became the first human illness that was treated by gene therapy in 1990. जीन थेरेपी से सबसे पहले ट्रीट की जाने वाली डिजीज SCID है, दैट वाज द एडेनोसिन डीएमाइनेज डेफिशिएंसी एंजाइम को करेक्ट किया था. इट इज अ प्रोसेस इन विच ए नॉर्मल जीन वाज ट्रांसफर्ड इनटू द डिफेक्टिव व्हाइट ब्लड सेल्स ऑफ टू यंग गर्ल्स टू कंपेंसेट फॉर द जेनेटिक म्यूटेशन. In 1990, 4-year-old Ashanti De Silva became the first patient to undergo a successful gene therapy for SCID. Hunter's disease. Hunter syndrome or Hunter disease is very rare. It is inherited gender disorder caused by missing or malfunctioning of enzyme. In Hunter syndrome, the body does not have enough of the enzyme that is iduronate 2 sulfatase. iduronate 2 sulfatase की deficiency से जो syndrome disease हो, that is called the Hunter's disease. The lack of this enzyme causes heparan sulfate and the dermatan sulfate to accumulate in the body. इस एंजाइम की डिफिशियंसी से हेपारेन सल्फेट और डर्माटाइन सल्फेट अक्यूमुलेट हो जाते हैं. जब अक्यूमुलेशन किसी भी मटेरियल की होती है, किसी भी केमिकल, इट विल लीड टुवर्ड्स डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ डिजेनरेटिव प्रॉब्लम्स. The buildup of massive amounts of these harmful substances eventually cause permanent progressive damage affecting appearance, mental development, organ function, and physical abilities disturb होंगी. Hunter syndrome is far more common in boys. The condition is one type of group of inherited metabolic disorder called mucopolysaccharidosis. It is the one type of the MPS. Hunter syndrome is also known as MPS 2. Hunter syndrome is the only MPS syndrome to exhibit X-linked recessive disorder or X-linked recessive inheritance. Hunter syndrome causes abnormalities in many organs, including the skeleton, heart, and respiratory system. In severe cases, this leads to death during teenage years. Signs and symptoms of the Hunter syndrome may include an enlarged head, thickening of the lips, a broad nose and flared nostrils, abnormal bone size or shape and other skeletal irregularities, chronic diarrhea, joint stiffness, aggressive behavior, stunted growth, delayed development such as late walking or talking. These are the symptoms of the Hunter syndrome. There is no cure for Hunter syndrome. Treatment involves managing symptoms and complications. Duchenne muscular dystrophy. The disorder is X-linked recessive. About 2/3 of cases are inherited from person's mother, while 1/3 of cases are due to new mutation. 2/3 are inherited from the mother and 1/3 are due to new mutation. It is caused by mutation in the gene for the protein dystrophin. डिस्ट्रोफिन की डिफिशियंसी से मस्कुलर डिस्ट्रॉफी होगी. डिस्ट्रोफिन इज एन इम्पॉर्टेंट to maintain the muscle fiber cells membrane. muscle fiber cells membrane को maintain करने के लिए dystrophin बहुत important है. Genetic testing can often make the diagnosis at birth. Those affected also have high level of creatine kinase in their blood. ड्यूचेन मस्कुलर डिस्ट्रॉफी में जब डिस्ट्रोफिन प्रोटीन की म्यूटेशन या डिस्ट्रोफिन जीन म्यूटेशन की वजह से डिस्ट्रोफिन प्रोटीन की डिफिशियंसी होगी, इट आल्सो लीड्स टू हाई लेवल ऑफ द क्रिएटिन काइनेज. Symptoms of Duchenne muscular dystrophy includes fatigue and weakness of the muscles, which starts in the legs and then gradually progresses to upper body, leaving individuals wheelchair bound by age of 12 years old. क्योंकि मसल की डिजीज है, मसल प्रॉब्लम रिलेटेड है, इट विल मेनली अफेक्ट द लेग्स एंड अपर बॉडी पार्ट एंड द मेनली स्टार्ट इन द इनिशियल एज, इन द स्टार्ट एज फ्रॉम द 6th year of age and in the 12th year of age the person or the patient bound to wheelchair. For some reason the condition affects mostly boys with symptoms such as heart and respiratory difficulties, deformity of the chest and back and potential mental retardation. Although there is no known cure, physical therapy, braces, and corrective surgery may help with some symptoms. Assisted ventilation may be required in those with weakness of breathing muscles. Medication use includes steroids to slow muscle degeneration. स्टेरॉइड का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं जिससे मसल डिजेनरेशन कम होगी. Anticonvulsants to control seizures and some muscle activity, and immunosuppressants can be used to delay damage or to dying muscle cells. G6PD. G6PD deficiency is a genetic disorder that most often affects males. It happens when the body does not have enough of an enzyme called glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. Glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase की deficiency से G6PD disease हो रही है. Glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase is responsible for the first step in the pentose phosphate pathway. Pentose phosphate pathway में ये enzyme बहुत important role play करता है. A series of chemical reactions that convert glucose, a type of sugar found in the carbohydrates, to another sugar that is ribose 5-phosphate, and ribose is the most important component of the nucleotides in both DNA and RNA. This chemical reaction produces a molecule called the NADPH. जब पेंटोज फास्फेट पाथवे होगा उसके रिजल्ट में NADPH synthesized होगा, which plays a role in protecting cells from potentially harmful molecules called reactive oxygen species. NADPH reactive oxygen species से protection provide करता है. जब NADPH नहीं बनेगा then reactive oxygen species will not be protected and it will cause different types of problems. Mainly it leads towards the cancer. G6PD helps red blood cells to work. It also protects them from substances in the blood that could harm them. G6PD help red blood cells for its functions. ये आरबीसीज को हार्मफुल इफेक्ट से प्रोटेक्ट करता है। G6PD. Without enough G6PD to protect them, the red blood cells break apart. This is called hemolysis. G6PD की deficiency की वजह से red blood cells breakdown होगी. That is called the hemolysis, breakdown of the red blood cells. When many red blood cells are destroyed, a person can develop hemolytic anemia. जब सारे RBCs डिस्टर्ब हो जाएंगे, person leads towards the hemolytic anemia. This can cause tiredness, dizziness, and other symptoms related to the anemia. Weakness. Nephrogenic diapetes insipidus. Nephrogenic diapetes insipidus is a rare kidney disorder that may be inherited or acquired. Inherited भी हो सकता है, acquired भी हो सकता है. NDI is not related to the more common diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus साथ relate नहीं करता. That is common sugar in which the body does not produce properly use insulin. चूंकि डायबिटीज मिलिटस में डिफिशियंसी ऑफ इंसुलिन हो रही है, बट इन एनडीआई दैट इज नेफ्रोजेनिक डायबिटीज इंसिपिडस इज अ डिस्टिंक्ट डिसऑर्डर दैट इज कॉज्ड बाय कंप्लीट और पार्शियल रेजिस्टेंस ऑफ किडनीज टू आर्जिनिन वेसोप्रेसिन. आर्जिनिन वेसोप्रेसिन को रेजिस्ट करेगा, दैट कंडीशन इज कॉल्ड एनडीआई. Vasopressin is an antidiuretic hormone used by the kidney to manage water balance in the body. Water balance को maintain करने के लिए vasopressin बहुत important role play करता है. NDI causes chronic excessive thirst, polydipsia, excessive urine production, polyuria, and potentially severe dehydration. If NDI is untreated, then the condition leads to towards repeated episodes of severe dehydration may develop क्योंकि लॉस ऑफ वाटर होगा, इवेंचुअली रिजल्टिंग इन सीरियस कॉम्प्लिकेशन. चूंकि एक्सक्रीटरी सिस्टम रिलेटेड प्रॉब्लम है, इट विल अफेक्ट द होम्योस्टेसिस ऑफ द बॉडी. मोस्ट केसेस ऑफ हेरिडिटरी एनडीआई आर इनहेरिटेड एज एक्स लिंक्ड रिसेसिव डिसऑर्डर. ज्यादातर एनडीआई इज एक्स लिंक्ड रिसेसिव डिसऑर्डर है. Sometime, but in rare cases, NDI is also inherited as autosomal recessive or autosomal dominant disorders. Two different genes have been identified that cause hereditary NDI. NDI may also be acquired during life as a result of drug use. Drug use की वजह से, that is the lithium therapy की वजह से भी NDI हो सकती है. Kidney disease, obstruction of the tubes that carry urine from the kidneys to the bladder, that are the ureters, and the prolonged metabolic imbalance such as the low level of potassium in the blood, hypokalemia, or high level of calcium in the blood, hypercalcemia. Hypokalemia, hypercalcemia, and the blockage in the ureter or the kidney disease and drugs can also cause the NDI disease. NDI may also be temporary complication associated with the pregnancy. That was all about the X-linked recessive disorders. Now have a look at the Y-linked inheritance disorders. Y-linked inheritance disorders include the hypertrichosis, that is the growth of hair on the rim of pinna, porcupine that is straight hair on the body, and webbing toys. Hypertrichosis was initially it was considered as a Y-linked disorder, but it has been disproved that it is a Y-linked disorder. इसको डिस्प्रूव किया जा चुका है कि वायलेंट डिसऑर्डर नहीं है, लेकिन चूंकि अब वायलेंट डिसऑर्डर में लिटरेचर में मौजूद है तो इसको एज एग्जांपल हम ले सकते हैं, लेकिन कंप्लीटली इट इज नॉट वायलेंट डिसऑर्डर. Hypertrichosis of the ears or hairy ears is a condition where there is a conspicuous growth of hair on the outside rim of the ear. Web toes condition is characterized by the having web-like connection between second and third toes. And porcupine man is a condition when the skin thickens and gradually become darker, scaly, rough with a bristle-like outgrowth. That is a porcupine man. Hypertrichosis. That's all about the sex-linked disorders. We have discussed about the X-linked disorder and the Y-linked disorder, X-linked dominant disorder, X-linked recessive disorder, and the Y-linked disorders. In the next lecture, we will discuss about the multifactorial disorders. Thank you so much.